Sony's big reveal of the PS4 Pro was just a couple of weeks ago, and to some, the lack of details about what it can actually do has been disappointing. However, Sony's given us a nice vague list of what it can do: 4K gaming as well as improved frame rates and visuals at 1080p. That's enough to work with, isn't it? Given how little Sony has given us to go off of, we don't really know what the PS4 Pro is offering. Improved frame rates could be like the Xbox One S's marginal boosts, or a solid 60 FPS at 1080p, we just don't know. Based on the supposed 4.2 teraflops that Sony's promised, 60 FPS at 1080p seems pretty reasonable, especially considering that the original PS4 was hitting 30 FPS in most games with less than half of that. 4K gaming seems a bit out of reach for a console though. Last generation's GTX 970, a pretty popular mid-range card, hovered around 30 FPS with low settings of 4K, so maybe a console could do this as well. So there's our criteria: 1080p at 60 FPS and 4K at 30 FPS or thereabouts. Here's what I've come up with. For our CPU, I've chosen the Pentium G3258, a dual-core 3.2 GHz Haswell CPU. I was considering AMD's A8-7600, which scores slightly better on most tests, but being able to overclock the G3258 allows for you to squeeze a lot more bang out of your buck. Considering people are comfortably getting 4 GHz on air out of the CPU, I think it's a good call. Since the G3258 is unlocked, the obvious choice is to go with an 1150Z series motherboard to make the most of it. Gigabyte's Z97HD3 offers what we need. In terms of I/O, with 4 USB 3.0 ports and another 2.0 ports, I'd say it's more than enough for most people's peripherals. Otherwise, I don't think there's much to say here. It's a motherboard, it gets the job done. Since the PS4 has 8 gigs of RAM, I thought that would be the minimum for this build. Mushkin, a company I'm only mildly familiar with, offers a single 8 gig stick clocked at 1600 MHz. Since it's single channel, it's easy to upgrade further down the line. It's not exceptionally fast, but it does get the job done. I struggled to choose a card for this build. I found myself flipping between the 950, 750 Ti and RX 460. All three are great budget cards, but each have their own downfalls. The 750 Ti is getting old, the 950 struggles with anything above 1080p, and the 460 isn't widely available at the moment. Looking at benchmarks, it's pretty clear that the 750 Ti is out of the running as there's a lot of stuttering, while the 950 and the 460 fight it out neck and neck. I've listed EVGA's 950 for the Win Edition card in this build, purely because the 460 isn't listed on PC Power Picker at the moment. Either card's a good choice though, as they both perform more or less the same. Personally, I'd go with the 950 as I like Nvidia's software, but that is just me. The case isn't anything exciting and was here to keep prices down. If aesthetic is really your thing, I think you'd be happy to pay a little bit more. For storage, I've included a 1TB Western Digital Blue Drive, a common choice that also matches the PS4 Pro's 1TB of storage. In terms of power supplies, I chose EVGA's 430W AE Plus rated model. EVGA's power supplies have a solid reputation, and with an 80+ rating, it's a much safer choice than some no-name brand that might die on you when you least expect it. This build, even though it is a good build, I wouldn't say it would get you the performance that Sony is promising with the PS4 Pro. Based on that, we can say that the PS4 Pro is actually pretty good value. Okay, that's good, but there's a little bit more than that. Since the PS4 Pro is aimed at the gaming enthusiast market, those who play competitively, or are content creators, online is most likely a given. For those of you who don't know, Sony locks online play behind a subscription called PS Plus. While it does offer a lot more than just online play, it's the primary reason a lot of people have it. However, when playing on PC, you don't have any additional fees on top of your normal internet bill, so I decided with the money that you save, that could go into the PC build to further the performance. I'd say that the current console generation has about 3 years of life left in it, so let's see what 3 years of PS Plus can add to our PC. With nearly $600 to spend, there's no reason not to buy an i5. I chose the 4460, also a Haswell chip clocked at 3.2 GHz. I was considering Skylake, but for the 6400 at the same price, the 4460 is the better choice, even if only mildly so. No hyper-threading here, but with 4 cores at 3.2 GHz, you can't really complain about the performance at $180. My experience with MSI motherboards has been fine. They do their job well, but they haven't really done anything exceptional. The H81M is no exception. It does the job. The IO is pretty standard and I don't feel like there's really much to say. I stuck with the same Mushkin RAM as 8GB is enough for many people, especially if you're just gaming. If you do plan on content creation, then maybe 16GB is a better choice for you. AMD's RX cards are proven to be impressive low-end options, but throwing the 1060 into the mix puts some real competition there. Since most titles are still DX11 on PC at the moment, I felt that sticking with Nvidia would be the better choice as AMD's cards still underperform in DX11. However, if you feel like DX12 is going to get popular terribly soon, which I doubt, you could swap out the 1060 for a 480, but either way you're getting a great card at a great price. While the 1060 doesn't beat out the Ps4 Pro on paper, only 3.8 teraflops, the RX 480 does, with a whopping 5.8 teraflops behind it. Obviously, numbers don't equate to performance exactly, but it gives you a pretty good idea of how things will play out. While the Carbide 88R isn't jaw-dropping, for the price it's definitely better than having a cheap case that looks like it came out of 2005. For storage, I've stuck with the same 1TB drive from Western Digital, as that covers most people's needs for storing games. I've found that most people keep their media, such as movies and music, on a separate external drive, so I don't feel like we should accommodate for that in our build. I've stuck with the same EVGA power supply since it still covers our estimated wattage according to PCP. It still gets the job done, so why change it? If the Ps4 Pro actually offers 4K gaming at a decent frame rate, I'll be honest, Sony's got a damn good deal on their hands there. And on paper, it looks like it might actually be able to. However, the PS4 has 8GB of RAM in total. While our systems have 8GB of RAM as well as more dedicated VRAM on the graphics cards, the PS4 has 8GB of RAM to share between the CPU and GPU. I feel like this is going to result in a bottleneck and it's going to kill 4K performance entirely. Other than that, I honestly believe that this is very feasible. A couple of last notes. I didn't include a monitor with these builds, just like you wouldn't include a TV in the price of buying a PS4. While suboptimal, you can hook up your computer to your TV just like your PS4, which would be fine if you're just doing gaming. Peripherals for PC also could have been included, but I feel like those peripherals are too personal, and most people do have a cheap mouse and keyboard that they can use lying around somewhere in their house. There are also other arguments involved here. If you want something that just works, go with the PS4. You plug it in and you can play, whereas PCs require a fair amount of troubleshooting and setup in my experience. If you need something that does more than just play games, maybe a PS4 isn't the best choice for you. Exclusives are a big question as well. I'm super excited for that new Spider-Man game, even though I don't have a PS4, and Bloodborne looks like so much fun. But if you aren't interested in PlayStation exclusives or any platform's exclusives, why are you buying it? I personally believe that the exclusives make the system. They're perfectly optimized and generally showcase the system in a perfect light and are truly the best experience that you'll get out of your console. It's why I love Nintendo's platforms. Yeah, the 3DS is so weak compared to the PS Vita, but some of the best games I have ever played are on it. It's all down to you. It's your money and you need to choose what suits your needs the best. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful or just enjoyed it and found it entertaining. If you did, go hit that like button down below and maybe, if you feel like it, leave some feedback in the comments. I love to hear what you guys have to say. Did I screw some things up in the PC build, or are there some other things that you want to see me do? If you really like this video, subscribe and I'll see you every Friday with a new one.